Good morning and welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on the journey toward publication. I am Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write fiction and nonfiction.
And you may notice that we are missing the great and awesome Tina Catane. She had an appointment that she had this morning. She was hoping to slide in here before we began. I don't know. Maybe she'll slide in here once we started. It's always a surprise with Tina. We don't know. But as of now, it's the three of us. And the three of us are going to move on into the part of our episode, the segment that we like to call the What's Up. It is a time for us to check in with each other and see what we are doing, and mostly in our personal lives or things around us. So I'm just going to go in order there. So Rhonda, what's up with you?
Well, I've had a really non-writing week. It's been kind of a crazy week. My mom was down here, so we got a lot of things done that we normally aren't able to do because she's out of town. But, we played some cards this week, and we celebrated some birthdays and did some other things. And then I got an abscessed tooth. And so now I found out yesterday I've got to have a root canal next week. So my cheek yesterday, well, this one, it was like I had cotton stuck in my mouth. So obviously antibiotic is starting to take effect, but the pain is still affecting my brain. So even though I might look better today, I am still kind of a moron. So just be patient with me today, and I'll do the best that I can.
I wish I had an excuse for why I act like a moron. I'm so sorry, Rhonda. When we got the message that you went in for an emergency dentist appointment, I was like, "Oh, that's bad."
Yeah,
it's not good. Yeah. Well, I'll do my what's up next so I'm not talking constantly. But I've had a very busy week as well. I've done a lot of writing. We'll talk about that in Accountability Corner. But my oldest daughter started homeschooling this week, and it's been exciting. And all my nerves and all the things I was worried about were just silly. Like, it has been a great week. We have both enjoyed it. I'm very, very happy that we made that decision. Also, another really big decision in my life. I don't think you can tell. Not a decision, a big event in my life. Now, I've had gray hair, and my husband loves my gray hair. And I've always been the person that said, I'm not going to color it because it's kind of coming in here to be kind of cool looking, whatever. I don't know if you can see it, but I have one that is like this long. And I went like this in the car, and I happened to look up in the mirror, and it's this big, long, really white piece against my like nearly black hair. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. This is fine. So yeah, it was kind of an event for me this week, and my daughter thought it was hilarious. So, because it doesn't matter. I could have been a very young mom, and my kids would think I'm old, but I wasn't. I had kids later in life, so I really am old.
My sister went premature gray, and that was traumatic for her because, you're young, and then suddenly you're seeing gray hair, and it's like, why,
I have a friend who's beautiful, and she's been coloring her hair since she was, I think, 18 because she started going premature. And she doesn't get my whole thing of, like, I'm not going to color my hair. But, like, here I am. I'm 46, and I've only colored my hair when she wanted to, like, play with my hair, my friend who's a stylist. Other than that, I don't care. Like, I like my natural hair color. I like the darkness. I don't need highlights and all that stuff. But now I'm like,
I know.
I don't know. Like, I almost see myself coloring my hair because,
Well, I was really tempted to just go ahead and color it all gray, that cool purpley kind of gray, silver, whatever, because, why not just go with, because the problem is I don't color my hair, but people think I do because of the way that my gray grows in. It just looks like I have roots showing. So people think I'm due for a color, and I'm not. I just don't color my hair. So same problem. Because the reason I don't color my hair is because then I know I would have to keep up with it. Yes. Because then I would have growing in. But I have that problem
I know. I think people think that I have it's like some sort of vanity thing about wanting to color or not wanting to color. For me, it's like, do I want the extra work or do I not? Because let's be honest, I'm lazy when it comes to my hair and my makeup. Like, so lazy.
Me too.
So, yeah. All right, Jamie, I know a little bit of your what's up, but I want to hear it from you.
Oh no, you don't, I don't think, because what I was going to talk, whatever, I decided to talk to you guys today about some cool things that I've just been studying around because I think that God is so amazing. So I was thinking about this concept, life is in the blood, right? And so how there's so much, division in the faith about what's appropriate or not to do regarding transfusions, things like that. And so it was curious to me, just what exactly is the nature of blood? What does science know about blood? Do you know what I mean? And so I've been kind of looking at that. So let me show you something. So, okay, I'm an American and we don't do liters and milliliters. So my little kitchen scale only did ounces. So I had to Google how many ounces is a milliliter. It was really stupid, but the closest I could get was this. So this is like 4/10 of an ounce. It should be 3 point whatever. So that should be like a milliliter of blood. Want to take a guess at how many blood cells are in that much blood?
I'm going to say 1 million.
Jennifer, any guesses?
I'm going to say 2 million.
Ready for the answer?
If I'm over, do I lose? All right, go ahead. Yeah, I'm ready for the answer.
4 to 6 million blood cells
Wow.
in this much blood. Can you believe that?
That's amazing.
Jamie just drank it. It's not blood.
It's not blood. It was cherry Fanta. But the point is that was just amazing to me. Mm-hmm. And not all of them are red blood cells. 45% of it roughly is what's called plasma, which is 90% water. And it's just really interesting if you look into the nature of blood. If you just look into the nature of matter itself, you just become awed by the majesty of our Creator and all that He does.
Yep. I don't know if you've done any research on the DNA aspect of it, but for a long time, they always said that if you've had a blood transfusion in, say, like the last 6 months, don't do a DNA test because the blood that was given you may still be circulating and it could be.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. But they've discovered that people, even years after having one blood transfusion, even if they do a saliva DNA test, you still have DNA from the blood giver. Not a lot, but they can find DNA cells in there. Yep.
Okay, so I had no idea there was any sort of argument or discussion about blood transfusions within the church. I had no idea. Like, this is not even like this is another reason why I'm so happy to be part of this writing group, because I learned so much from you girls. Not only do I learn like a word of the day from Jamie Hirschberger, but I like always learn this kind of stuff. I had no idea that this was an issue.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, see, it was an issue. Like, so my husband and I are talking about it because it's so funny. I never think about donating blood, even though I'm O negative, which is very sought after.
I am too.
Really? Oh,
so my husband is, how in the world is it so? Wow, the three of us have connected. So
you have O negative also?
No, my husband does.
Oh.
And he does try to donate. So, but yes. So should he not? Like,
no, whatever. That's not the thing is, the only time I've ever felt really compelled to give blood is when I'm pregnant. And it's like, that's when they don't want you to give blood, right? And so then the blood mobile will be around or kind of whenever. And I don't even know why. I just picked up somewhere that it was some kind of a controversy. And so I was talking to my husband, well, what do you think? And it just is like, now we're in the what do we think about this sort of phase. You know what I mean? It's completely a conviction that's personal that people have to figure out for themselves, just like any other sort of doctrine or whatever. But that's what drove me to start looking. And basically, I just am more and more in awe of the Creator, the more that I just look around at His evidence that He exists, which is just the creation itself. And the more that I study what He's created, the more I'm just like, wow, Right. Like, you understand why you would, your bowels would go soft on you if you ever really encountered this Creator because of His amazing power,
Mm-hmm.
And on top of everything you just said, Jamie, which is educational, also my mind starts working on stories too. Like, wow, like, so years from now, the DNA is still mixed, but yet they did a DNA test to see if I committed a crime or not, like a futuristic, like, especially if the government is crooked and, wow.
Yeah, there are cases where people have Like, so I just had a transfusion. So the DNA is someone who didn't do the crime. Like that has happened in a couple of cases. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I decided to share from my WhatsApp because otherwise I didn't feel like I'd be able to fill 3 minutes or whatever it would be, you know?
Right. All right. Well, we have no chatter going on, and I'm like wondering if we're actually live right now. But
Maria just came in and said hi.
Oh, hi, Maria.
Oh, hi, Maria.
Hi, Maria. It must just be my computer's not showing it. I was wondering if everybody was having a snow day because this morning, 5 a.m., my phone rang and it was a school district automated thing saying that there was no school today for my 2 children that are still public schooled. And so they were super excited about that. So I have a house full of kids and dogs right now. So that's kind of fun. So I guess it's just in Michigan here that we have a snow day. But, oh, hey, Maria. Hi, Gigi. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Hi, Gigi.
Yeah. Gigi out for her walk this morning. I know she likes to listen to us while she walks, so I'm not sure if it's a live thing or she tapes us and listens later as She
said, yes, we're live. I was just a little bit late to the party. Oh, Barbara Hatchell says, snow day here in KC. Right. So Kansas City is where you are. That's awesome. I love Kansas City.
Oh, I'm going to Kansas City shortly.
I'm going to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come.
The stalker is actually talking. You keep going in and out. Probably up here in the tundra. I hope.
Oh, because your internet's funny, isn't it, Jen?
No, I got it fixed. What's funny was my headphones. I have a newer laptop, and with the newer laptops, they only have so many inputs, and everything is kind of the USB-C now. And so I had to buy adapters to be able to plug in everything I need to for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden, the adapter I used for my headphones wasn't working, so I had to plug my headphones straight into the USB, which means I couldn't plug in straight to the router with an Ethernet cable. But you can see I've gone without headphones today. I was putting in and out. I hope everything is okay. Let us know if it's just Barbara, or if it's everybody that can't hear us. But Maria says, gray fog and drizzle here, typical British January. Yeah, it's pretty nasty here too. But I don't mind it because I'm inside. So I feel bad for people that are outside in the winter in Michigan. But yeah. All right, so today's topic is way more conversational than informational, maybe. Hopefully you'll get something out of it, because I think that when we share with each other things in our personal lives and what we're doing, I think that we share things that other people are interested in or might be interested in. So this week, yesterday specifically, was #Library Shelfie Day, where you were to take a picture of the shelf could be in your public library or in your own personal library of your books. People were being very creative. If you haven't seen it, go to Instagram, maybe even Twitter too, and type in #Library Shelfie Day. It says selfie, it's a shelfie. And there are some adorable, like, people having their dogs reading, like posing and fun things. I love, of course, if it's dog, I'm all for it. I was late to the game yesterday because I don't know if I've talked about it here very much, but we are in the process of moving. It's going to take us several months because we are fixing up the house that we're moving into. But I've started packing some things up, including a lot of my books. And my plan was to drive over to my aunt's house, which is where we're moving, and take a picture of her bookshelf, because it's been kind of a hard transition for me, packing her books away and choosing what to donate and what not to, because you can't keep everything. And I did find there's a church in West Virginia that is out in the mountains, and they don't have much, but they're trying to build a library at their church. And so that helped me to give up a lot. So I've been packing up a lot of her books, but I want to take a picture there, and I just never got around to it because, homeschooling and everything else. So I just took a picture of my current reads. So I'll go first if you ladies don't mind, because apparently I'm on a roll. So I'm going to be honest. When I am writing, I don't do a lot of reading, because when I'm reading, I don't do my writing. I get into a book and I can't stop, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, especially fiction though. I get like obsessed and I want to finish it. And then if there's a sequel, forget it. Like, I move on to the next one, especially now that we are in the age of Kindle. Do you guys ever do that? Like, download a book and then keep reading the whole series because it's so good?
Yep.
I think that your experience is typical for writers, Jen. I don't think you're alone. Oh, Maria Johnson even said, same here, Jen.
Yep. Except me, not Kindle. I like paper.
Yeah, I like the real book too. There's something about that, but I also am impatient. So
That's me.
I'm a mixture of the two. So I have a lot of books, and I'm going through and donating a bunch of mine too. I have a lot of actual physical books, and then I have a lot. I don't even own a Kindle. I do it on my phone. And I asked for a Kindle for Christmas starting in July of last year. Did I get one? So I'm thinking for my birthday I'm buying myself one. But I don't even own a Kindle. I just look at my little phone and I read that way because I'm just impatient. So Maria says, I struggle to read lots when I'm writing. I struggle to keep up reading habits. Me too. Gigi says, me too. So Maria also says, Shelfie, I totally missed this, but it sounds brilliant. Yeah, I'm going to try. If you guys follow us on Instagram, we're going to try to stay up on a few of the fun hashtags that come around every year. And then maybe try to coordinate some of our topics that week with it. We're going to try. We'll see how that goes. Everybody, I think, struggles
so far
with
it's going terribly because Jennifer is like got these wonderful plans and somehow, well, I don't pay enough attention is the problem. So I completely missed the assignment of making the shelf picture. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I missed the assignment of making the shelf picture. But then I got kind of in my head about how it should look and what it should be like. And I fretted and bit my nails. And then I just never did it because I had anxiety about it. But I apologize.
You know, Jamie, today you and I should celebrate belated
Shelfie Day.
Totally. Yeah, you totally should. I went through the same thing, Jamie, because I didn't have a pretty shelf to look at. My boxes, and then you should see. I'll be completely honest here. You guys have seen my house. Where my library is now, I had to climb up a ladder to get this like little loft thing. And I didn't want to climb up the ladder and get up. I was too tired. And I was like, I had to move things because there's boxes up there. I just didn't want to do it.
That's really interesting. I mean, like, so, okay, I don't want to sound like a negative person or something, but it's really interesting then that could cause anxiety. Like, why do I feel like I have to pose some kind of a bookshelf or like whatever? If the fact of the matter is like, go around and look for where I have a pile of books somewhere and take a picture of it. Why do I feel like I have to like pose or make it look a certain way or blah, blah, blah? I mean, it just... Like, well, I don't know.
Because that's part of what Instagram is like pretty things to look at. It's part of what it is, but there should be reality in that too. So like you, I could have, there's lots of books piled around my house, let's be honest. But there's also like garbage and stuff. And like this pile down here, I'm not reading those books right now. I just haven't gotten away to put them, I haven't put them away yet. So, and like there's a couple there that I started reading. I don't like them. So I'm just going to donate them. So like nonfiction, it's easy for me to stop. Fiction, I almost have to always finish it. But
so tell me then again about the Shelfie. Is it supposed to be your to be read list or just a shelf of books that is pretty on your, it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters. I think that it's a library Shelfie day and it could have been whatever, want to do. So what I did was I had something happen this week and I'm going to share that in a second here, but I took a couple of the books that I plan on reading next. And I just threw them on my table, which had my new planner on it, which I got to be honest again. The dinosaur, the old caddy that did not work out. If you watch it a couple of weeks ago, we talked about planners and I had this great idea. Well, the problem is that I decided I want to do the whole week as 2 pages instead of 1. And it made the book way thicker than last year's book. And it's just unusable.
I love that you call it old fatty now.
It's old fatty.
Yeah.
So, and then plus I have to do lesson plans now. And so I wanted one place. So I went and found my old Happy Planner, which this is actually the inside of the Happy Planner. The outside looked like this and I didn't like it.
Oh.
So, and I went back to Scattered Squirrel. So remember we talked about them. I love their printables. I printed them full size. And then you can buy a paper hole cutter to cut them so they fit into Happy Planner things. But number one, I didn't want to spend the money. Number two, right now, because I just bought a ton of curriculum. And number two, I didn't want to wait because we already talked about this earlier. I don't need patience. So I took something that was from this and I paper clipped it to the ones I want to clip. I took a little paper cutter, a paper hole puncher, and I punch, and then I clip every single page that you see.
Wow.
Yeah, it was dumb because I know that my time is worth money too. So whatever. So this is way off topic, but let's get back to the topic. Sorry. So Maria says, I think it's hard when your job is concentrating on words all day. Then I don't have space to read other people's words. Oh, yes. Might be even harder with editing. I would say yes, harder with editing, because that's what I'm going through right now. My editing, there is some rewriting, but it's just hard for me to like be doing both, right? Barbara Hartzler says, if I read fiction while I'm writing a novel, I feel like I'm playing hooky. Oh, that's funny.
Cute.
I've also known of writers, and I think I can be occasionally can be like this. If I'm reading something else while I'm writing, it might influence the flavor of what I'm writing.
We talked about that in a previous episode. If you're reading in a genre that you don't write, it could spell disaster for your project.
Yeah, that was episode. Oh, that was early on. It was like
if you know the number of the episode, that's bizarre.
Who adds this stuff, right? But the name of it is something like reading for your writing or something like that. So you can go back in and find that. So yeah. All right. So earlier this week, knowing that we had this episode coming up, and I completely forgot that I should be reading something to be prepared. Late last week, actually, I should say, I posted on my Instagram that I was in the dregs of editing, and it was like killing me. And one of my former students, because I used to teach, one of my former students is a friend of mine now, and we're friends on social media. We've gone to lunch, like we're legit friends, but she lives in Lansing, about an hour away. She messaged me personally and said, I'm going to mail you something. I said, all right, that's exciting. And just a couple days ago, I got this in the mail. It is called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott.
Oh,
have you heard of this book?
No, but I have heard of Anne Lamott.
Well, it had a beautiful, she put a little post-it in there, and I want to read part of this in here. It says, hi, Jen, I was reading this book, and I thought I should share this with a fellow writer. Then the next day, I saw your post about your book. Keep up the awesome work. I'm so excited to see your books get published. Feel free to pass this to another writer once you're done, Rachel. So thank you. Thank you, Rachel. You can go to my my Instagram and you can see I posted that, and you can go and follow Rachel. She's a social media phenom and a great person in general. So, and she's writing as well. So anywho, I thought that was really great. And I love that idea of passing the book on, but I'm kind of a book hoarder. So if I like this book enough to pass it on to somebody, I'm probably going to keep it and buy another copy and pass it on. Just saying. Ooh. But I really appreciate her doing that. That was just very kind of her. So this is the nonfiction that I'm focusing on. And I'm looking forward to reading that, because I take her opinion highly, because I know her well and I know her tastes. And then fiction, I found this at a used bookstore. It's older, but you get 3 historical romance novellas. And here's why I'm excited to read this. First of all, I like these authors. Second of all, it's historical, which is what I write. And third, they're little short ones without sequels. So I don't have to feel like I have to keep reading. And I think that'll help me to still be reading without getting too far into a book. And then I have this book for my health that I want to read, The Complete Guide to Fasting. So those are the 3 books. I've started this one. It's very good, but I really need to sit down and take it serious instead of just like flipping through it, which I tend to do with some books like that. So
Barbara Hartzler says she's heard Bird by Bird is amazing. I hadn't heard of it before, but I'm very intrigued now because I like Anne Lamott, and that sounds neat.
Yeah. It's a 25th anniversary edition, and I never heard of it either. So Maria asks, does that mean that's giving?
Oh, playing hooky. She's talking about playing hooky, because someone in the chat said when they feel like they're reading a novel, they're playing hooky.
Mm-hmm. So she read it as playing hockey. No.
Okay. All right. I have to interject here, because when we were when I was in 3rd grade, in the middle of the school year, we went to Texas to visit family. And I remember sitting in this restaurant, and they had these huge velvet red booths. And that's I remember that for some reason. And
I would remember that too. Yeah. For a kid, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the waitress was getting ready to take my order, and she said, well, young lady, are you playing hooky? And it's the first time I ever heard that word. And I thought she said hockey too, coming from Michigan, And I thought, hockey, how does she know I ice skate? But I don't play hockey. Anyway, I thought she was saying hockey too. So Maria, do not feel bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a weird way of saying it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's my to be read from my shelf, hashtag library shelfie day. Who wants to go next?
I can. It doesn't matter to me. All right. Do you want to go, Jen or Jamie?
No, go ahead, Rhonda. It's fine.
Okay. All right. So this is my fiction. How come I never get my thing right?
Ooh, look at that. That looks fun.
Yeah. Death of a Scriptwriter. So MC Beaton, she's a cozy mystery writer, and her books are set in Scotland. And this is a Hamish Macbeth book. So Hamish is a cop. And anyway, I just really love the way that she writes. And the main character in this book, the way that she's writing her is just hilarious to me. Anyway, I don't know if it's meant to be laugh out loud, but that's what I'm doing. So it works for me. Okay, and so my devotional book I'm reading right now is this one, Book on Forgiveness.
Ooh, nice.
And this one, it's written by Kirky Morrissey, and this was written actually in the 80s. And I'm telling you, it's 1982. Fantastic. I just really, really am getting a lot out of that one. And then I'm rereading this.
Yeah.
I read it all the way through once when it first came out. And then I've skipped through it a second time. And now I'm completely rereading it a third time. Completely rereading a second time. But I think this is going to be one of these sort of writing manuals that I will never quit reading.
Can I push the pause button for a moment? Because I feel like if anybody's doing audio only, they have no idea what books Jennifer was talking about, except for that. So can you just say the names and authors of the books that you were talking about, Jen? Or real quick, just so people who are listening.
So sorry, I forgot.
Oh, that's all right. It just occurred to me when Rhonda was talking, because she was like, oh, this. And then anyway.
So the first book was Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fiction that I'm reading, it's an older collection of stories called 3 Historical Romance Novellas of Everlasting Love, All My Tomorrows. And
so it's various authors then there.
Yes, and it's traditionally published by Bethany House. And then The Complete Guide to Fasting by Jason Fung. And if you are in
I love him.
Yeah, fasting or keto or high fat, low carb, or anything like that, any of like the new kind of ways of thinking about your body, then you'd probably have heard of him. But I have issues with my being overweight for so long. I have issues with my liver, and fasting is a good way to rest your liver. So that's what I'm reading that for. So, and then Rhonda, did you tell the names of the books that you're reading for those that are listening?
I think I did. The fiction is MC Beaton. She's the writer, and it's Death of a Scriptwriter. And the devotional book is A Woman's Workshop on Forgiveness by Kirky Morrissey. And Story Genius, which Barbara Hartzler is also going to be reading. Where is it? By Lisa Crone. So those are my favorites.
I've heard really good things about Story Genius. Mm-hmm. So especially if you're new to writing and you're finding us and looking for just how to structure your story, if that's something that you feel like you're struggling with, because I think we all start off just writing the story that's in our head, right? And then you realize pretty quickly, okay, we got this out there, but it doesn't feel right. If you're at that point, it's probably because you need to work on structure. And I believe that that's a good option for you to look at right there. Also, you can look at more of our episodes and look at some of our freebies if you sign up for our newsletter, because we have some good story structure stuff as well.
Truth.
All right, Jamie. J.R. Nichols, it's all on you. What are you?
So when we originally talked about this topic, I sort of panicked because, like the rest of you, my reading sort of slows down when my writing ramps up. But I have embraced the audiobook. So most of my reading is audio, which also is why I have a shelfie issue, because I don't have a stack of books sitting around here. Because what I do is I go to the library and I see what is available for audiobooks. And then I just read that. And I've decided to try to read classic literature, because it seems to me that even if I'm not really a fan so much of the author, at least the writing I feel is of a caliber that I like and appreciate. So I really just appreciate reading older stuff. I tried Virginia Woolf, but I can't read her. So anyway, the last book I read was To Kill a Mockingbird, because I never was assigned to read it in school and wanted to know what it was all about and stuff, because people had read it. I had heard, of course, whiffs, So that was really neat to listen to. I really enjoyed it, of course. And then I started to read Atlas Shrugged. So if I was going to say what fiction am I reading right now, this is my second time through it. The first time through it, I didn't understand it. The second time through it, I just basically hate it. I'm gritting my teeth trying to read it. I may just do not finish because like I get the point and the writing is just so dry and dull. I can't even stand it. So I don't know if this is anybody's hero that I'm bashing, but I can't even take it. So I'm probably
I will tell you, I've read a lot of her books, and you are right. They're pretty dry.
I can't. I mean, when I read it before, I was reading it because I was being so cool and edgy because, I love Ayn Rand. I'm such an intellectual. Yep. But then I realized, recently that I didn't comprehend anything that I read, and I thought I would appreciate it more, which I do appreciate it. I appreciate. She'll make these points, and I'll be like, wow, yes, that's really clever. But really, I prefer to read an essay if I'm going to read something that dry. It's like I feel like I need to dip it in water. So that would be my fiction. Now for nonfiction, for years I've been fascinated by this woman. Her name is Mary Lou Brown, and I had to really dig in research because how I was introduced to her was the radio. Way back in the 90s, she was on the radio, and how she would explain on the program is like this. I used to be a supermodel. Well, not a supermodel. They didn't have that back then. But in California, she went to California and achieved her dreams of being a model and was working as a model with successful people, had a successful career. But she found herself weeping at her dressing table because she just wasn't happy. So after a long series of events, it's Atlas Shrugged by Anne. Yeah, thank you, Rhonda. After a long series of events, she comes to Christ, okay? Long time after she first comes to Christ, she's compelled to sell everything or give away everything. And then she moved into not the suburbs of Detroit, but Cass Avenue, the heart of nasty, horrible Detroit, by herself, a woman, rents out a storefront in the worst, not like the nice where you stay away because you're worried about crime or whatever. The worst possible part of the city, God tells her, rent this building. She had a candlestick and a cot, and she prayed in everything else, and everything that came in, she gave away. And every week she would be on the radio and she would say, hey, everybody.
Oops, we just lost Jamie.
Everybody, what? I'm hanging here.
All right. Well, we try to figure out what's going on with Jamie and try to get her back. Talk about a couple things. Something that stood out to me for both of you and Jamie. First of all, Jamie talking about audiobooks. Totally forgot about that. Like I totally am into audiobooks as well. I have been reading through the Bible. Now I've tried several attempts and always felt guilt-ridden because I just couldn't do it. And so then this year I thought, I'm just going to find a podcast. And I found a podcast that reads through the Bible. And part of me felt like I was taking the cheater's way out. But let me tell you, I'm getting more out of it with somebody reading it to me than I think I ever did reading it to myself. It's amazing the things you hear. Yeah, it's amazing because I think our ears process differently than just our eyes do, right? So there are things that I hear even in familiar stories, because let's be honest, when I would get to a familiar story in the Bible, then I would just like, I already know this, and I feel like my eyes would just kind of skim over it. But I would be busy doing dishes or brushing my teeth, and I'm listening to my audio Bible, and all of a sudden, like I get something different out of it. So I'm really enjoying that experience way more than ever. Jamie, I was just sharing because we lost you there for a little bit, so I was just trying to fill the time and sharing that I agree with you with the audio. I forgot about that I also do audiobooks, but right now I've been reading through the Bible.
Me too.
So that's been my daily, I listen to a podcast, and I can look up the podcast while we're talking or whatever, but I listen to a podcast and I really enjoy it. They read part of the Old Testament, part of the New Testament, a Psalm and a proverb.
I hope it's Daily Audio Bible because that's the one I'm listening to. I don't know. Is the guy's name Brian?
I don't think so. This is
you would know.
It's one, but from the 1 Year Bible. It's 1 Year Bible podcast. I tried the Daily Bible, I think, and I wasn't crazy about the presentation. I mean, it's the Bible, right? But still, like that means a lot. Like in this person, I just feel like he's just very kind of calm and, I just really enjoyed that. So that's what
Well,
that was my.
Maria just mentioned that there's the actor who did Poirot. I'm going to have to look that one up because that would add just another little level of pleasure to reading it.
Oh, awesome. Barb says, Jamie, if interested in older fiction, try Daphne du Maurier. Love, love, love her. I don't know how to say her name.
Yeah,
but.
I'm gonna try that. That's a really good tip because well, I'm open for suggestions. I'm sure it will shine. Whatever I read next, I need to read something that I maybe wouldn't like so much because Ayn Rand has gotten me all primed to like something.
Yeah, I don't like her at all. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't like her
Mhm.
personal views. Like, all right, not all of her.
Well, she's a socialist.
Well, not just that. I'm talking about love and marriage and like the
Yeah.
things she did in her real life. I have huge issues with, and I don't like her books. I don't like her writing. I think that if she hadn't been so politically charged and so like kind of weird for her time period, nobody would have read her. My opinion, because I think her writing's great. But
yeah, she grew up. Her personality was formed in Russia, in atheist Russia, and so it's not surprising at all to see all those views come out in her writing.
Like polygamy, kind of like, you know, like doesn't matter who you're married to, kind of thing.
Yeah,
for that. So yeah, so I'm not shocked at all that you found her writing dry, because I had it when I was long-term sub. I had to teach one of her books, and it was horrible.
Which one was it?
Her most famous one.
Well, there's The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged. Oh, I can't see. I'm sorry.
It's probably that one that everybody is. I don't can't remember.
I don't necessarily want to share that on here. Like I kind of felt like it was inappropriate for high school, but it wasn't my classroom. So you know. So Maria's talking about the audio Bible. Maria, I'm curious, is it something we can find online, like a podcast, or is it something you would buy as a DVD? Because I don't even have a player for DVD anymore. So I'm just curious about that. So, all right, Jamie, we lost you, so you probably were not finished.
I don't even remember. I don't know what you guys heard last. I don't want to start that whole story over again. It's going to be too long. So maybe we just move on.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I don't know. What was she saying? Do you remember, Rhonda? Because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on the end of my seat. Edge of my seat.
I'm trying to think what the last sentence was.
It was the woman who she started a mission, and all she had was a cot and a candlestick. And then she went on the radio, and she every week on Sunday, we only get what people bring to us. They never took any government money. So by the time she passed away, she was like 93 or something. She had not just the original building, but also another whole building where they had church services. And the last thing that I found out was that they had started a school in her name, and there's 12 students the last time that I checked. But anyway, I was fascinated by her, and I found out that one of the books that she was reading is called The Christian Secret to a Happy Life. And so I found that on LibriVox, and I can't remember the author's name, and I had it pulled up here. The Christian Secret to a Happy Life is Hannah Whitall. She lived from 1832 to 1911. And since it influenced Mary Lou Brown, I'm going to give it a shot. Basically, it talks about experiencing the love of Christ as though you were a tiny child, and God is your daddy and willing to bless you with wonderful things. I guess that's supposed to be, but it's a nonfiction sort of a devotional type of a book, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys today.
That's awesome. I'm really interested in that. So this was a great conversation, because now I've got more books that I want to read. So
I know, that's why I was looking forward to this discussion. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So in the chat, we've had a lot of conversation, but I would love to know what the people that are listening to us are reading. So share it if you're with us live right now. We'd love to see you share it in the chat. Also, if you're catching us later, you could tweet it to us on Instagram. You can respond to us that way. I really would love to know, because one thing I learned by listening to the three of us talk about this is each of us seem to have a fiction book hanging out there that we're on our to be read or currently reading. We each have a nonfiction, like devotional or something for our spiritual lives. I have something for my health that I'm planning to read too. And then also we have something for a writing career, like something like you have Story Genius and I have that editing book. I always seem to have something, whether it is just specifically for my writing and editing or something like, like this, I've already finished this one a couple times, the Newsletter Ninja, something for my career. you guys think that's pretty common, or you think that's just we lost Jamie again? Oh, poor Jamie. What do you think, Rhonda? Like, do you think that's pretty common with writers, or do you think that that's just us because of our personalities?
Well, I don't know. I always try to have those three categories going. See, I used to be constantly with a book in my hand when I was a kid. And I remember one time in 6th grade, I was in my science class and I had a Black Stallion book underneath the desk and I was sitting there reading it. And I
Not the
feel a
same book,
shadow
but
over me. Did you?
all the time.
Their shadow came over me and my teacher said, Miss Bauk, is that much more interesting than what I'm trying to teach you right here? And yeah, it was honestly. But I just like I had to read every moment of the day, it felt like. And as I got older, I kind of fell away from reading a little bit. And then with me learning about ADHD, I realized why I always had like a stack of 10 or 12 books around my chair because I would start them and then I would get interested in something else and start that. And so anyway, now I try to have those three categories going at all times. So I've got three different things to read depending on my mood. And I force myself to read every day, whether I'm in the middle of writing a rough draft or editing or doing whatever.
Right.
Just for my own.
I was the same. I always had a book or I was writing something. So they can't tell if you're writing a story or taking notes. But I always had like story ideas. And I wish I had all my notebooks from high school and junior high. I wrote a whole novel in junior high and the girls all passed it around and everybody read it. Like it was about this girl who was like a nerd and the star baseball player, like she had a tutor. It was like a full novel. Like I think back and I'm like, that was actually pretty decent for a 7th grader. 8th grade, I think it was. Anyway, so I always had that going on as well. And so when I became a teacher, like I would see students that would be like sneaking books, and I never got after them because I knew like they were my peeps. Like I knew that whatever I was teaching, they got it. They understood. Otherwise, they would be worried about the test. So they totally knew what was going on. I just left them alone, acted like I didn't know. But I guarantee they all left my class thinking, Mrs. Tong is so clueless. When I totally knew what was going on, but I like identified, right? So that's really funny. All right, so we do have some chatter going on about what they've read. Let's see. Maria says, the last book I read was The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Epic murder mystery with a fantasy twist. Guy is stuck in a manor and has to solve a murder. Ooh, that sounds really good. I've never even heard of it.
Can you guys hear?
We can hear you, Jamie. Yes.
Good. I turned off my camera to help with the bandwidth or whatever is going on, so I'm just going to be audio.
Okay.
I was wondering, are iguanas falling on your internet connection? Is that what the problem is?
Yes, probably, because they're saying here it's cold in Florida. And it's unseasonably cold. Rhonda's talking about the fact that it's so cold, iguanas are freezing. Their hibernation, weird thing that they can do. And they are falling from trees onto people. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yes. That's so hilarious. Okay. Author Barbara Hartzler says, I'm reading Firstborn Academy because it's in my genre, academy fiction. I'm also reading Fiction Formula by Sean Platt and Johnny Truant and Many Habits because it's January. Yep. A quick word on Sean and Johnny. They're kind of part of the reason why we do this podcast. They are great. They know so much about independent publishing, and I just think they are a wealth of information. But I could not listen to their podcasts with my kids in the room. And I could only take so much of it. They're great guys. They just have potty mouths, and they don't. I mean, that's just who they are. They aren't like from a Christian perspective, and that's I'm not judging them. I'm just saying that that's what I was looking for. And when we had this conversation about should we do a podcast or not, that's one of the things I thought. I was like, I would have loved a podcast like this when I was first starting out and I was clueless. So we never ever claimed to have it all together or to be experts in this. We just claim to share with you what we've been through the past 2 years to help you come along with us on this journey. Right. So let's see. Maria says that she's heard about the iguanas, Jamie. Yeah, it was on. Yeah. I saw it on the Weather Channel, which is super weird. And like some of the sad thing is, it's been cold for so long that not only are they dormant, some of them are dying because it's been not too long. I know. Well, I say that, but we used to own an iguana because when I first got married, I had cute little stepkids, and I wanted to be, I want them to love me. And my youngest Spencer was like 4 or 5, and he wanted a lizard for Christmas. So of course I go off and I look for lizards and found that you had to feed them bugs, except for the iguana. And the iguanas look cute. And the lady's like, they get kind of big. I'm like, I don't care. I can feed it vegetables. I'm taking it. That's what we're going to get. This thing got huge. Huge. And like, its tail could kill you, I swear. Maybe not kill you,
Yeah.
and Spencer didn't play with it enough, so it didn't like people. Like, you have to play with it when they're really little, and he didn't like them. And so, yeah, we ended up, well, so we had this thing, and it was like just taking up half our living room. It was terrible. Then I got pregnant, and in conversation with my obese, I said, my OBGYN, I said, yeah, and the iguana got out of the cage the other day, so my dad had to come over, blah, 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 because I was at work. And my doctor's like, you have a what? No, you don't. He goes, not anymore, you don't. And I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't know they carried salmonella. And he's like, he didn't even say you should. He's like, you no longer own it. You need to find somewhere else. And like that day it was gone. So I felt bad for Spencer, but really I didn't, because I was so glad to see that thing go. So, all right. Anyway, let's see. Barbara says, that's funny. Their new book is great, but there are a few foul words. Yeah. And you expect that if you're, and that's just who they are. They're being genuine. And I'm, like, if you can listen to their podcast without your children around, and if you can stomach the language, they have they have an older podcast and they renamed it. Great stuff. They have so much great information about independent publishing. I can't say enough good things about them. I just can't. Plus, they're farther along in the journey than we are. So in your devotional life, I think, and in your business life, your education, you should always have people that you are discipling, and you should have people that disciple you. And those are two people that I can point at and say, I learned a lot from them. And there are still people that are farther along in their journey that I'm learning from. And we hope that we're passing along some of that, mostly, but we're not copying what they do. We are just doing what we've done and doing it from a Christian perspective. So yeah, I might pick that book up and see. Maybe Barbara, I could send it to you since you've already read it, and you can like just black out all the swear words for me. Make it better for me.
Do you think Jamie is going to be able to read her story?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Oh, she's there. Yep.
We can hear you.
I muted because my husband and kid came home, and I had to tell them I have to sit right on top of the router.
Oh.
All right. Well, why don't you go first, Jamie, in case we have any more problems. So thank you for the discussion today, ladies, and everyone that's in chat. But it is now time for us to move on to one of our favorite parts of the podcast, and apparently a favorite part of our listeners as well, the feeding of the backs. And what we mean by that, if you're new to this podcast, is that if you're new, welcome. Glad to have you. Every week before the podcast, we set a timer for 15 minutes, and we all write using the same prompt. And then we share it live here on the podcast. No editing, no fixing anything. We just read what we've written. And yesterday's prompt, which hopefully I can pull it up really quick because I wasn't even thinking that we were there yet. But yesterday we had to do it because Tina was hoping to be here, so we wrote beforehand. But today's prompt is: you open a book at the library and are immediately transported into that world. So thank you, Tina, for that idea. We wish you were here to share your story. But Jamie, go ahead, and why don't you share what you've written?
Okay, before I do that, can you hear me, or is it all choppy?
Nope, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Great. You guys are choppy for me, but if it's not that way, the other way around, then that's fine. Okay, so here we go. I understood the assignment to be from a book that actually exists. So I put myself in a certain time and setting from a book that I was thinking of, and here we go. Hey, Winnie. Hey, Carly. What you doing? I'm churning butter, which you'd know if you wasn't some backwoods no good kid of a moonshiner. I knowed what you was doing. Well, what you gonna ask for then? Because it's rude to just run up and ask, got any bread? And I got manners, even if I am a backwoods no good kid of a moonshiner. The Circle Drive in front of Highborn House had been chock full of carriages the afternoon before, and seemed like every time Lancet's had company, there was some leftover biscuits for the morning's breakfast. My mouth watered in anticipation. Winnie stopped churning and put a hand on her hip. She tilted her head, and one corner of her mouth got all pinched up. After looking at me for an uncomfortable minute, she leaned forward and pulled a twig that had entangled itself out of my mouth. Ow, Win, You can't just reach out and pick at a gal's head like that. It hurts. I don't know why your mama don't braid or twist your hair, Winnie said, her hand reflexively stroking her own neat braids. She do sometimes, sure enough, except she can only make 2 braids from mine. I don't know how come you have ever so many. You just always look so untidy. Maybe if you'd stay out of the trees. Winnie shook her head, but even as she did, she began her retreat behind the slamming screen door and into the cool, dark recesses of the servants' entry hall. She returned like I knew she would with a biscuit for me. For not the first time, I felt like some strange sort of pet, with the tiny little cabin up on the ridge as my cage. But I knew no cage could ever keep me. Winnie knew it too. Who's doing chores over at your place right now? Chores? Yeah, like the sweeping and the butter churning. We can't afford no butter. My guffaw scattered chewed biscuit bits onto my chest. Well, ain't you able to do no chores then? Might make your place seem a little nicer. Winnie, you ain't never been in my place. Only 'cause after looking at you, I got inspired not to go there. That's not so. You ain't come 'cause you're not allowed. Not allowed? Shoot, Winnie said. She laughed a big laugh, a big fake laugh, and continued moving the churn handle up and down, up and down. This was something I'd been dying to know from the first time I laid eyes on Winnie. She'd been the first colored girl I ever knew that was my age exactly. All others I'd seen had been older babies. And that's all I got.
Wow.
All you got. Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
What book was that? I feel like I should know that book, but what was it?
I know, me too.
Okay, so it started out being Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Okay.
But then I thought it felt more Tom Sawyer as it went along, and then I
Yeah.
looked up they were written around the same time.
Oh. Okay. Well, that was
Yeah,
really
that was-
good.
Yeah, I felt just like Ron. I felt like I should know this book. Like, so I felt like which shows that like immediately you made the characters feel real to us. Like, and just so well written. I feel like it was like just well with the dialect and the conversation, and you can already feel like the friendship / tension between these two, and just really well done in a sprint. Always well done.
Right.
Thank you.
I never read Uncle Tom's Cabin, so I don't know if you took a scene and you sort of springboarded from that, or if you just took characters from that book and made their own scene up for them. So which did you end up doing?
No, what it was basically was the idea of the poor white in antebellum South, because they are ignored. The picture that is portrayed is that all Southern whites were rich and owned slaves, and all Southern were slaves. And nobody ever talks about the poor whites of that time period. And they had a very significant role to play in tensions and stresses based on slavery. And so I was kind of inspired to think about, because after coming off of To Kill a Mockingbird, they were a reasonably wealthy family living among poor people. And I thought it was interesting to think about the fact a poor white person and a slave on a plantation would, like, what would that interaction sort of be like? And as I was kind of at this ideal, so I looked around a little bit, and turns out poor whites were often looked down upon by Black slaves because they were considered even lower on the social status than would be. And oftentimes slaves and poor whites would have community, and they would have bartering systems, and they would conduct business with one another, much to the chagrin of the wealthier white people. So it was just a really interesting facet of antebellum South that I just wanted to explore with this little piece.
Gosh, and it's not, it wasn't just slavery times either. Like, as you're telling this story, I'm thinking about my grandmother, who was born in 1925, and she lived through the Depression, and she in Missouri, if you're not from there, but my family is from there. And she had talked to me at length about growing up. Her father was a sharecropper. And for those outside the United States that don't know, a sharecropper was somebody who basically rented land just to farm on. And then part of the crop that you pulled in went to pay the person. You gave them the crop, the person that owned the property, and the rest you would use to live on. And it was a very poor existence. And my grandmother lived, they were white, but they lived in the poor Black area. Missouri, there was a time where there was an uprising because a Black man was accused of raping a white woman, and the whites came after the Blacks. There's a whole long story there we don't have time to get into, but my grandma remembers seeing all the Blacks running, like just grabbing whatever they could and just running across fields and abandoning their houses. But she experienced the same thing. Like, she wasn't good enough for the whites, but she wasn't good enough for the Blacks either. And so that went well into like the 40s, so very interesting, the dichotomy of that in the United States. Well done, Jamie.
So I really love
Very
these
well done.
characters, and I hope that they go on to do more. So we'll see.
Me too. Love it. All right, Rhonda, do you want? Should I go next so that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Oh, okay.
You guys are very,
So-
very choppy to me.
You're getting choppy too now, Jamie. Sorry, it's been a long day already. Okay, so mine is not based on another story, but okay. It was a rainy day, but living in Seattle, most days were. Not that Missy minded. It was better than the 7 inches of snow her family was dealing with back home in Muskegon. Besides, the rain pretty much matched her life since Damon broke up with her and she took the job in Washington. Gray and bleak. But who cares what the weather is like outside? It could rain all it wanted as long as she had leftover pizza and Netflix. She could spend the entire Saturday with those 2 faithful friends. Unfortunately, she hadn't gotten around to getting the internet turned on at her new apartment. With nothing better to do, Missy grabbed her umbrella and set out in search of entertainment, old school style. She had seen the library on her way to work her second morning in Seattle. The glass and steel building had caught her eye while she sat at a traffic light on Fifth Avenue. She'd never seen such a large library. There must be literally millions of books in there, she thought. And she hoped there would be at least one that would help her while away the day, if not forget her problems. It was more difficult to navigate than Missy had imagined, especially since she was unwilling to ask for assistance. Nobody seemed to notice her as she slipped in, the front desk clerk too busy reading her own book to notice. She walked around aimlessly from periodicals to reference, nonfiction religion to history, until she thought she might not find her way back out. But eventually, she found a fiction section that might be the answer to her problems. Apparently, no one was interested in fiction on a Saturday because she was all alone in the rows of books. Nothing was really labeled by genre, so she grabbed one book, a red leather-bound copy of something called The Mountie, and opened it. May I help you, ma'am? Missy spun around, book clutched to her chest. Oh, my word, you frightened me. The man removed his khaki hat and held it across his chest. I'm sorry, that wasn't my intent. He smiled. You're new here, eh? Missy wondered how anyone could know that in a town the size of Seattle. She also wondered why the man was dressed like that. Are you going to a costume party? She asked. The Canadian officer laughed. No, ma'am. Then why are you dressed like a Mountie? He nodded toward the book she still clutched in her chest. Suppose you'll have to ask the author. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my goodness, that's so good.
I know, I can't wait. Like, when we finished, you weren't with us when we did this yesterday. When we finished sprinting, both Tina and I were like, oh, and then I messaged Jamie. I'm like, I don't want this to be over. Like, I feel like I'm starting a new book. Like, I just love this. And she's like, me too. So we, like, this was a great prompt. Like, for us, at least, we really, really liked it. So Maria, Maria says, all the rain sounds like the UK at the moment. Yep. I don't know why I thought about rain. I've never been to Seattle. So I don't know. I did look up really quick during the sprint what their library looked like. So yeah. Thanks, guys. Everyone's complimenting me. Jamie's now in chat. So we've lost her again, audio wise. But so it's just me and Rhonda closing out the show. And Rhonda saved the best for last. Rhonda sprinted this morning because she was unable to be with us earlier. So Rhonda, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. This is based on something that Mom and I sort of brainstormed yesterday. And when the topic came through for today's writing, I just thought it was perfect. So anyway, it's short, of course. And I'm on medication right now too. So
I was going to say, I hope it's really, really like good, like goofy because you're so like medicated right now. But for those of you that, again, that are new to the show, most of us type, but Rhonda tends to handwrite her sprints. And then if she types, she is much more of a thoughtful typer, where the rest of us are kind of like just kind of regurg like bleh, out type really fast. So she may complain that she doesn't get as many words, but her words are always golden. So
Well, that's very sweet of you. Okay. Oh yes, and Jamie reminded us we only get 15 minutes.
yes,
Yeah.
that's our excuse. We only
Yep.
have 15 minutes. Don't forget.
Right. Okay. I pour my morning cup of joe into the mug my daughter made for my birthday last year after she found photos of my 4 great grandmothers. I wish them all a good morning as I swirl several tablespoons of whipped cream into the coffee. A tablespoon for each, that seems fair.
Hmm.
As I unfold today's edition and automatically turn to the obits, but the headline grabs my attention. Pioneer home burns to the ground, total loss. No, not the Bush house. The Pomeranian at my feet jumps to attention and growls at my outburst. It's okay, Tribble. I don't mean to wake you. She jumps into my lap, so I show her the photo under the headline. I think this is one of the oldest houses here in Grand Blanc, I explain. I wonder if the barn's burned too. Oh, I'm so sad. Grand Blanc has already changed so much, and enough of those beautiful old houses are being torn down to make way for, I pause to make air quotes for Tribble, progress. I try not to gag on the word, and Tribble snuggles deeper into my lap. I wonder who actually built that beautiful old building. An hour later, I was at the local museum flipping through a catalog of old homes. The end. That's it.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Like there's so much of you in that and so much of like your style of writing that I absolutely love it. And I literally went, oh, when the building burned.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, can I just say, and it's going to be a lot of me talking because I'm the only one on here. Oh, Christina Catane says Star Trek reference.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm the one on here, so you have to listen to me. So sorry. But when you said that I went to flip to the obituary section, my first thought, who else would think to write that? Like, well, that is totally you, and that's totally right. And the exciting thing is that kind of springboards into next week's episode. For those of you that are here right now, next week we are going to be talking about genealogy and how to use it for storytelling and how to get story ideas. We've got a great story to share that Rhonda and I experienced together. So it's going to be a really fun episode next week. So that's awesome. Gigi Wagner says, love it, Rhonda. Jamie agreed with me. Yeah, LOL obituary, yes. So Maria says, so good, Rhonda, so evocative. Agreed. Love the coffee mug with the great grandmothers. Yes. Do you really have that mug?
No, I don't. Actually, I was looking at the mug with our faces on it.
Oh, I usually have it sitting around here. We have a mug that has our logo on it, but you can't see when we drink out of it. You see the logo, but on the back has all of our faces. But Rhonda chose the least flattering pictures for our photo shoot.
Oh, they're very flattering.
Maybe next week. Maybe we'll pull it out next week. So, yeah. Well, that was great. All right. So it's going to be hard to do accountability corner since it's just the two of us.
Oh, my goodness.
I will just say, I think I met my accountability. I was supposed to do 5 chapters. I believe that I did do that because it's hard for me to say because some chapters got split up and made into 2 chapters. So that counts, right? So I still feel like I'm really behind in what I need to do with the book for Phoebe, but Tina and I'll do Tina's accountability. Tina and Jamie and I had a conversation during office hours this week, and we've encouraged Tina to try to write draft 1 of book 2 before she puts out book 1. And we believe that if she did a nano style month for the next 4 weeks or whatever, even if it was the next 2 months, that she could put out a rough draft. I have complete confidence that any of us could do that. We've done nano before. So she at least has an idea, because my encouragement was when I wrote my books, I put my first book aside until I finished my second book because I knew that they would affect each other. And so, we've encouraged her to do that because it might change her book. We have someone named Tech Mess wanting to join the conversation. So,
I had to come on because I just loved Rhonda's piece so much. I had to get on.
Aw, thanks.
1 tablespoon of cream for each of the great grandmothers.
That's right. That's my excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Jamie, since you're on here.
Yeah, I wanted to be on here too to celebrate with Christina about her book cover.
Mm-hmm.
Tina Kane said she got her book cover done in the chat.
Oh, I missed that. Yes, she did.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
for this week. All right, so you're gonna pounce on me for my accountability since I came
Yes.
back.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
I don't remember what I promised, but I think I did it. Like I'm still moving forward with the edits for Tina, which I am farther than I was. I think I said I wanted to try to be done, but I didn't get there. I
You got
on
really
chapter-
close though.
Yeah, I was on 10 when at the start of the week. I'm in 12 now, so I'm doing great there. My blog is really I'm happy with the progress that I'm making there too. And it's really difficult for me to tell you what a goal would be because I'm really just not working toward a goal right now. I'm having a hard time. Like I have to think of what a goal would be. So sorry, I should have maybe not come back on.
No, that's okay. Speaking of coming on, look who's joining us too.
Oh,
I figured if Jamie could do it, I could too.
There you go.
Hey.
All right. So I was talking about your goal, like what we were talking about, Tina. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you and I, because I need to finish Phoebe, and I really need to focus on it. She and I are going to try to do a nano-ish type of month or two till we get our 2 projects done. So do you want to have any more to say about that?
No, other than that's my accountability is I'm gonna have a nano type writing goal every day, like maybe 1,800 words a day or hopefully more. And I got my book cover done, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's like other little tweaks I could do to it, but I'm just done. Like as far as I'm concerned, it's good enough, and I'm done.
So Tina and I are going to meet up throughout this month like we would normally if it was a nano month to try to keep each other accountable actually in person. So Rhonda, if you want to join us at any of those points. Also, if you are in Michigan, anywhere near us and you would like to join that, why don't you hit us up and we'll, unless you're some weirdo, we'll find out, all right? Because it's always public places, so who cares? So yeah, hit us up if you want to try to join us for writing somewhere. So
It's
that's
not like there's never any weirdos at Panera Bread.
Oh my gosh. I've not been there forever, but our little friend is probably still there waiting for us to come back. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode. Rhonda, have you done your accountability yet?
Yep, I did. Yep.
Did you really?
No, she didn't.
I'm like, wait a minute. I know I'm
Your
seeing
nose is growing. I can see it.
Oh, I forgot I'm on camera.
Oh, hey, Barbie says, can I join you, Nano T2? Nano T2. Okay. After my current obligation, I need to reboot my store. Yes, Barb, not only can you join us, if you don't join us, I will be knocking your door down. I will drive all the way to Ryder City and I will plop myself in your house until you join us. So.
Hey, that's an idea. Let's just go to Rogers City and stay with Barb for the whole month.
Yes, we should actually. Yeah.
I don't see a problem with
My
that.
family, they'll find something to eat.
Yeah.
All right, Rhonda, you are not off the hook. You need to tell us. What's your accountability?
Well, last week it took more time to work on the house up north than I thought it would. I thought I'd be able to get some writing time in there, and I really didn't. I was just too tired. And then the obligations I had with my mom this week, and let's see, what other excuses do I have? Oh yeah, I've got a tooth problem, and so anyway, I am not where I want to be with my second draft. And really, I just need to just sit down. If I had 3 or 4 hours of writing, it would be done. I mean, the draft would be done at about 50,000 words. And so for next week, that will be done. As soon as we're done here, I have to head up north and just finish up the last little loose ends of the house. And then after that, it's nothing but writing for me. So.
All right.
And I do want to join the Nano Challenge there. You got to.
I got to figure out what life looks like for me because now that I have a homeschool child, like it's going to be a little bit different for me. But yeah, I'm committed to this, and I haven't talked to my family yet. Because see, when Nano comes around, we have the discussion like, okay, it's Nano. You guys are going to have to kind of step up and do everything else that Mom usually does, and I haven't had that conversation with them yet. So maybe the homeschooling all this next month will be you're cooking and cleaning while Mommy does writing.
Home ec intensified.
Right.
Yes.
We just walked in the room to get a snack. That's awesome. All right. Anything else, ladies? This was a great
I just want to say I'm going to post what I wrote for the sprint on Twitter and Facebook because it wouldn't
Okay.
let me put a link in the chat.
Okay, great. Sounds good. All right, ladies. Thanks so much, everybody who joined us. We appreciate you. For those of you that are new, we appreciate you discovering us. And those of you that are here faithfully, we appreciate you as well. We hope that you were able to get something out of this. And until next week, may your pen be prolific. May your deadlines be met. And may all of your words honor Christ. Bye-bye now.
Bye.